Yo, what's going on, guys? J.Yumeko here, and today we're back with some more Everlasting Summer. Wow, it has been, 2 weeks since I last posted an Everlasting Summer video? I'm very sorry about that. It's been busy finishing up the school year, but, I'm really trying. So, yeah, that's that. And also, I just wanted to say really quickly before we get into it, that I have a new series, Katawa Shoujo. I'm really excited about it, and I think it's going to be really good, and I think you guys are going to enjoy it. So, if you wouldn't mind, that'd be awesome if you could go check out the first video that I have up on that, and let me know what you think. But without further ado, let's just jump right into it. I don't know what time it was when Olga Dmitrievna woke me up, but even before opening my eyes, I felt the imminence of death. My whole body ached. I felt dizzy. My mind was clouded by haze. Semyon, wake up immediately or you'll miss breakfast and, more importantly, the lineup. Looks like the camp leader intends to exploit me to the fullest today, the same as any other day. Sorry if I mess up the voices. I haven't done this in a while, so I kind of forgot them. I gobbled something, covered my head with the blanket, and turned to the wall. In the end, Olga Dmitrievna's anger will never go beyond words. At least, I really wanted to believe so then. Stand up right now, or... Or what? I was going to say triumphantly, but kept silent. Not because of fear, just because I felt too lazy to open my mouth. Really, what could she do to me? Lecture me at the lineup? Hang my photo on the wall of shame? Or use me for inhuman alien experiments? Well, I'm ready for that too. Just let me sleep a couple of hours. Okay, but you'll miss the lineup. The door slammed behind the camp leader, and the sleep which had been about to fade claimed to my mind again. I woke up dazzled by sunlight. It was 1 p.m. according to my cell phone, which was squeezing the last drops of charge out of its battery. Strangely enough, my body didn't ache. My head felt clearer, and all in all, it was a pretty good beginning to the day. After waving my arms, pretending to do early exercises, I sprang out of the cabin and headed to the washstands. Yeah, I slept through breakfast, but we'll be served lunch soon, so I shouldn't have to worry that I'll stay. I can't speak. So I shouldn't have to worry that I'll have to stay hungry like I did yesterday. Along the way, I meet a pioneer whose face somehow looked strangely familiar. But I was going so fast I couldn't really see him, and when I turned around, he was already gone around the corner. There was nobody near the washstands. Everyone's probably busy with Olga Dmitrievna's tasks and God knows what else. I quickly brushed my teeth, washed my face, and was already going to leave when I suddenly heard the sound of water flowing from the opposite tap. A pioneer leaned against a washstand there. I couldn't see his face, but judging by his figure, he looked like the one I saw a couple of minutes ago. How you doing? The sun's so bright today. I looked up into the sky, shielding my eyes with my palm. Yeah, nothing special. It wasn't easy to get a good look at the pioneer. Given the way he stood, the bright sunlight that reflected from the water and shiny metal surfaces of the washstands heavily obscured his face, and I wasn't able to distinguish any single feature. The camp leader is angry today. So angry. His voice sounded painfully familiar, too. Well, she's always like that. Well, you'd know better. Yeah. I tried to remember if I've ever heard this voice or seen this pioneer before. Well, see ya. He turned the water off and quickly marched towards the forest path. For a second I thought of following him, stopping him, but I quickly fought it off as I decided that it's not worth spoiling such a great morning with suspicions and burdensome speculations. Nature was glowing with the bright light of life. Lush treetops were rhythmically swaying in the wind, whispering to each other. The breeze gently stroked the high emerald grass. Birds were cooling in the shade, escaping the midday heat. The woods and fields stretching beneath the horizon were dissolving in warm sunlight. I don't know which month it is now, but it looks like midsummer. I distinctly remember the summer vacations of my childhood and youth, times of fun, leisure, and carefree joy. Childhood games, how many were there? I wouldn't say no to playing war games or hide and seek now, or swinging on a bungee. Or maybe even building a sandcastle and inhabiting it with toy soldiers, ready to defend their master to the last drop of their plastic blood. I went to the square and sat on the bench, waiting for lunch. It looked like there wasn't much time left before it. From time to time, pioneers passed by me, sometimes alone, sometimes in pairs of groups of 3, but always someone I didn't know. Alyssa, Oyana, Lena, or Slavia were nowhere to be seen. Thoughts about the meaninglessness of existence were circling in my brain, but this didn't worry me on such a beautiful day. Just think about it. Who could think of grieving for his life lived in vain or lost early while basking in the rays of such a friendly sun? Certainly not me. I looked upon Genda. He was meditating as always. Now he definitely never gets any unnecessary doubts. I remembered my first hours in this camp and the day before, the anguish, the anxiety, and the fear. That all seems so far away now, although so little time has passed. Will I get out of here or not? It didn't concern me as much as before. Maybe I'm already dead, and this is the last stop. Please get off the train. What are you thinking about? I looked up and saw that pioneer I'd seen before. I couldn't see his face as the sun was shining in my eyes. You know, life. It seemed he would sit down next to me, but the pioneer stayed in the same place, only half turned, which completely killed any hope of seeing his face. Listen, have we met earlier? I don't think I remember you. Well, let's say you know who I am. But I don't. I laughed sincerely. Here, you don't. He answered short. I see. Honestly, it's not like I didn't want to talk. I just didn't know what to talk about. And my soul was so calm that this didn't bother me. Your first time here? He asked a question, but his tone implied he was only expecting a confirmation. Yes, and you? Me. He paused for a few seconds. Nah, it's not my first time here. One might say that I've visited this camp every year since my early childhood. Such an answer got me interested. Well, and what was it like before? It's always the same. Olga Dmitrievna being the camp leader, all the same pioneers around, all the same lineups at the morning, and all these wicked accidents. For a moment I thought it was me speaking, not him. Interesting. It's just that with every new... He hesitated. Year, more and more interesting things happen, and one gets to understand better what's going on. What are you talking about? This conversation positively triggered my curiosity. It's a pity that I can't distinguish the face of this pioneer at all. Well, every session in the pioneer camp reminds me of the previous one, he said calmly. Probably. This is my first. It shows. The pioneer grinned. But it looks like it won't be the last. Well, it's fun here and all, but you know how they say, there's no place like home, but you still have to get back there. Now I was absolutely sure that this guy was hiding something from me. To be precise, he stood out too much from the camp's usual ordinariness and was too different from the local inhabitants. What do you mean? You think I'm stuck here forever or something? I said, enunciating every word. The pioneer had no time to answer as the lunch bell sounded. I turned my head towards the loudspeaker, and by the time I looked back, the guy was already gone. Thousands of theories and speculations instantly appeared in my head, but I stopped myself, remembering all the apparent normality of this camp. After all, nothing supernatural has happened in these 5 days. Moreover, everything here seemed too natural, sometimes even boring. Maybe this pioneer didn't mean anything by that and I just misunderstood him. Thinking that, I went to the canteen, intending to feast. Sometimes it seemed to me that lunch here is akin to the crowds around the soup kitchens during a famine. Pioneers were running around, pushing each other, trying to crawl through for the first meal and take the most comfortable table. I was calmly standing and patiently waiting for the cook to get me my assigned food rations. For lunch today, we had okroshka, which I didn't really like, and cutlets with potatoes. Okroshka is a traditional Russian cold soup. I sat in a corner and mentally rejoiced that I would be able to eat in peace. My table was the farthest from the kitchen. I could reasonably hope that the other pioneers who were looking for a free place wouldn't reach it, or would reach it last. However, when I moved on to the main course, Slavia, Shirk, and Electronic appeared from the crowd.
Can we?
I had nothing against their company. Of course. Lunch was going surprisingly calmly. Even Electronic wasn't jabbering as he usually does. I finally finished the meal, sprawled in my chair, and, satisfied, clicked my tongue. Listen, do you know this pioneer? I saw him today. You know, he's so... I suddenly realized that I don't really know how to describe him. Well, about my height, same constitution.
Hard to say from such a description.
Slavia smiled.
Well, we have half a camp of such guys if it comes to that.
All in all, they were right. Why are you asking? It's just that I met him today, and it seemed like I haven't seen him here before.
Look in the canteen. I don't think he'll miss lunch.
Why didn't I think of that?
That's it.
Alright guys, enjoy your meal. I got up and started to slowly walk along the rows of tables. Lena and Xenia were sitting over there. I gave them a friendly smile. Alyssa and Ulyana are laughing and arguing about something. Olga Dmitrievna, surrounded by pioneers. Good thing she didn't notice me. There are hardly any free seats, but the guy from this morning is nowhere to be seen. The situation is getting more and more interesting. Looks like I won't find him here. Maybe he already had lunch? I headed to the exit. It was so hot outside that it seemed like you would instantly melt after coming out of the shade. I suddenly felt like sleeping. I yawned and headed to the camp leader's cabin in order to follow the domestic interpretation of the Archimedes principle. I guess that would be more like Archimedes, maybe? In the end, Olga Dmitrievna is unlikely to return anytime soon. At least I think so. And I will definitely have a couple of hours to rest. Anyways, I really don't expect any other options to arise, especially in this heat. The heavenly coolness in the cabin became my salvation. I took my clothes off and jumped into bed. Crickets were lazily chirping outside, the wind was shaking the curtains on the window, and I sank into a dream. Knocking on the door woke me up. The knocks were soft but insistent. I reluctantly got up and went to open it. Strangely, there was nobody on the doorstep. I rubbed my eyes and stepped out to look around. All the same, no one around. A dream, maybe? It was already 4 o'clock. I felt jaded. I probably shouldn't have slept the end of the afternoon. After all, I knew what was going to happen. I put on my boots, left the cabin, and locked the door. But where shall I go? All in all, it's not much time till dinner. A sudden thought came to me that it would be nice to refresh myself, so I went towards the beach. The sun has passed the midday mark a while ago. It gets dark early here in the south. I squinted and looked up at the flaming disc. Who was that just now? I flinched. The same mysterious guy was standing in front of me, but once again his face was hard to see due to the bright light. For a moment the sun blinded me so I could not see anything besides the faint contours of objects. Are you stalking me? Nope, I was just passing by, he answered calmly. Then you should know better. So you haven't seen anyone? Correct. I rubbed my eyes, but it did not help. Why didn't I see you at lunch? I asked bluntly. I wasn't hungry. He laughed. I blinked a few more times and my vision came back, but the pioneer had miraculously disappeared once again. What the hell is going on here? Now I was absolutely sure that there was something strange about that guy. He must be directly related to everything happening around here. I'll have to find out. But for starters, it's good to confirm that I'm not mistaken, and that he's not just a local pioneer. It was quite crowded at the beach. It looked like everyone from the camp was there. Well, no wonder, it's so hot outside. Olga Dmitrievna was standing just a bit further apart from everyone, keeping an eye on her army of pioneers. As soon as I thought that coming here might not have been the best idea, she noticed me. Oh my god. Oh my god.
Hey, Semyon! You weren't at the lineup, and in general, you're just lounging around all day.
I didn't know how to answer.
And just how are you planning on becoming a proper pioneer?
She continued more softly. Olga Dmitrievna, in the camp, is there a pioneer who looks a lot like me? She looked surprised.
Maybe, I don't know. Why do you ask?
Oh, I'm just curious.
Well, we have a lot of boys here.
Alright, never mind then. Someone's yell came from the riverside and Olga Dmitrievna rushed in its direction. Well, it looks like I'll be spared a lecture. I lowered myself onto the sand and stared at the pioneers playing in the water. After a few minutes of sitting here, Ulyana approached me.
Why so sad?
I'm not sad.
Well, why are you sitting here all alone?
Just thinking.
About what?
I decided to spare her my story about the mysterious pioneer. Well, imagining that you're chatting with a weird person. And you have to figure out exactly what is so weird about them.
Simple, I would just ask them.
She laughed. Too simple. But he won't answer.
How do you know? Have you tried asking?
No, but it's obvious. Ulyana did not answer. She just sat down next to me and let out a tired sigh.
I'm all swimmed out.
And what if they know something but won't tell you?
Make them.
But how? For a bit longer, we sat together talking about random things, and then I got up, said goodbye, and went away. It's time to find the mysterious stranger and get all the answers. The first place to visit was the bus stop. After all, this is where it all began. The road was empty, as always. Only small dust tornadoes were occasionally visible on it. I was ready to turn around and go back to the camp, but then I heard someone whisper.
Don't trust him.
Someone was hiding behind the monument. A pioneer was sitting with his back to me, and once again the voice seemed strangely familiar. Who are you? I took a few steps towards him. Stop! Don't come any closer! For some reason I froze in my tracks. From somewhere deep inside an assurance came to me and I understood that I should not argue with him. Alright, I'll stay here. Have you seen him? Talk to him? He asked nervously. Who are you even talking about? He was dressed in a pioneer uniform. You know who? And I definitely did not know. Oh, I definitely did know. He was talking about the weird pioneer I saw earlier. Yes, I answered after a few moments of silence. What did he tell you? The pioneer asked in a pleading tone. Nothing really. Did he give you advice? Did he tell you what to do, threaten you? No, nothing like that. Of course, he seemed pretty weird, but nothing more than that. Remember, he may not be alone, or more likely he's alone, but you meet, or more likely, he is alone, but you may meet many pioneers here who look like him. And what about you? Who are you? Who are you hiding from? You'll understand. In time. Just remember, the most important thing is to find the exit. All of a sudden, a strong gust of wind came through, ripping leaves from the trees and throwing an old paper bag into my face. Shielding myself, I averted my eyes. When I looked back at the monument, the pioneer was already gone. At that moment, I was overwhelmed by fear. Real, almost tangible fear. I remembered being scared during my first hours at this camp, but back then everything around me seemed kind and friendly. Now J.Yumeko revealed its fangs, getting ready to eat me. And ahead, the unknown. My body was covered in goosebumps. My throat was dry and my hands were shaking. I tried to ignore it all and head back to the camp. It was already dinner time, but I had no desire to go to the canteen. After meeting the second mysterious pioneer, just thinking about the locals made me, if not afraid, then at least creeped out. I don't even know who or what they all are. And even though nothing had happened yet, it does not mean I can trust them. I stopped in front of the clubhouse, but then realized that is not the best spot to be at. I could run into someone, which was not something I wanted to do at the moment. Almost running, I hurried towards the forest and walked a few meters along the path before finally stopping. On one side, the mysterious pioneer. Well, two of them to be precise. On the other, all the inhabitants of this camp, who seemed absolutely normal. Either way, my decision to stand back and let everything resolve itself was under some serious pressure. At this point, it was clear to me. I had to do something on my own. But what exactly? Everyone is probably having dinner, so I have a good chance to make it to Olga Dmitrievna's place without being noticed. I decided to first take my clothes that I wore when I arrived here along with my cell phone. I won't be able to come up with a solid plan right off the bat, so for the time being, I might as well hide in the forest. I leaped up the steps and entered the building. My clothes were right where I left them, and my phone was right where it was supposed to be, under my pillow. I quickly grabbed it and was ready to stuff into my pocket, but then I noticed something on the screen. The message window had opened. The text read, "You're wrong, Semyon. You are so wrong." It felt like my soul had left my body. I froze on the spot. I was shaking and my blood was pumping so hard it felt like my skull was going to burst open from the pressure. It took at least a full minute for me to come back to my senses. Oh, Dmitrievna could have typed in the message. Or one of the pioneers. It's easy to figure out how to do it, even if they're not too familiar with this technology. But no one besides me should know where I keep this phone. This event was the straw that broke the camel's back. I rushed out of the house, determined never to come back here. Night fell in the campgrounds. I had been sitting in the woods for a few hours, trembling at every noise. The spot that I chose was far away from the path, so it would be hard to find me. I was keeping a few plans in my head for the time being. To try and run, to kill every single person in the camp. To try and kill every single person in the camp. However, on the other hand, one thought chased me, and I realized that I shouldn't behave like this because of some strange pioneer, or even because of that message on the phone. All of this was reinforcing the thought that everything happening here was far from normal. However, there was no proof that anyone in the camp had anything to do with it. I could have stayed here until morning, lost in my own thoughts, but I heard footsteps coming from somewhere nearby. So you decided to escape after all. I turned around, but I couldn't see the pioneer's face in the dark. Nevertheless, I was pretty sure it was him. I wasn't afraid then. More precisely, I was so physically exhausted that I was prepared for any possible course of events and somehow managed to reason appropriately and to maintain the conversation. I wouldn't call this an escape. I answered slowly, stretching every word. Huh? Then what is it? A tactical retreat. Brilliant! He burst into laughter. Listen, why don't you tell me what's going on? Who are you and what do you want from me? What did that guy tell you at the gate? It seems he didn't even hear my question. He told me not to trust you. I lied. But on the other hand, I thought that is what he meant. Well, that's always for him. Running away. Hiding. I could hear irritation in his voice. I'm not sure what kind of circus you're running here, but I am not going to be a part of it. Oh? Why not? You're the star after all. I couldn't see his face, but I bet he was smiling. Explain my part to me then. You know, I was like you in the beginning. The first time everything went peacefully. Then I escaped. I tried to understand what was going on, got mad, and even tortured them to get to the truth. He laughed crazily. I shivered. But it was pointless, continued the pioneer after calming down a bit. Pointless. And then I began to notice the lapses. At first I just heard their voices, from a distance and sometimes even in my head. Then vague silhouettes appeared. Then they slowly took on physical form. And finally they stepped into my world. I could touch them, introduce them to other pioneers, and they were all different. Different! Do you get it? Different! He started shouting. And it recurred again and again. You can get used to the loops, but... Then I learned how to get into their worlds by myself, to interact with the others. But it turns out that I'm not alone. There are lots of us. Today you saw at least one more. He fell silent. I didn't know what question to ask. I didn't want to interrupt his story, so I simply waited. After a minute, he continued. It's not that simple, of course. And it's not always possible. Only under certain circumstances. When you feel strong emotions, for example. I instantly remembered how I saw him the first time. The time when I didn't feel any emotions at all. Including the moments when you feel happy. As if he was reading my thoughts. I see. So, you're trying to tell me that there are several parallel worlds, including the same camp with its inhabitants, where I'm replaced by you or that guy I met at the bus stop? Yeah, something like that. His answer didn't surprise me at all. In the end, it's clear that whatever happens here is beyond the limits of human understanding, and this theory didn't even seem all that unusual. But you've said that everything recurs. Yes, it recurs.
And what will happen afterwards? You'll start from the very beginning. You'll wake in the bus, come to the camp, meet Olga Dmitrievna, the girls, electronic. But if that happened to you, then why should it happen to me as well? It happens to everyone! Once again, he laughed hysterically. And how many loops have you experienced so far? I stopped counting them already. At first I tried to remember them, though. Maybe a few hundred. No wonder. It was very clear to me that this guy was suffering from a progressive mental dysfunction. But you searched for a way out, didn't you? He didn't answer. That's what the guy at the bus stop was talking about. Because he understands nothing, damn it! He shouted. Because he's just like you, constantly running away, hiding. What would you suggest then? If I had any suggestions, I wouldn't be standing here talking to you. Alright, but you were trying, weren't you? Are you trying to understand what I know, since I've been around here for a long time? He asked cheerfully. Well, that's evident. Yes, I did try and run away from here. There. He waved towards the forest. Is nothing there. Nothing but trees. When I'd been walking for several days and finally passed out, I found myself in the bus again. Same for walking along the road. It's endless. Talking to someone about that is pointless. You probably already understood that by yourself. I did. I interjected. Even if you try to explain your situation directly, at best, you'd just be considered an idiot. So, what if you try to not leave the bus? It's pointless. Sooner or later, you'll be found. I even tried to spend the entire time there. In the end, I fell asleep, and everything started from the beginning. And what if you start it by yourself and leave? No keys. I don't have any carjacking skills. A cursed cycle. Exactly. A long silence fell. Finally, I asked, and what about the people around here? Don't they raise absolutely reasonable suspicions? Suspicions? Laughter again. The only thing that's suspicious about them is that no matter how much you tell them, they stare at you with their eyes out in stalks. The people, I feared them at first too. Then I used them for different experiments. And now I don't consider them humans. They're all dolls, puppets. You can easily predict any reaction, any word or action. So they aren't worth fearing, are they? The one worth fearing is yourself, he said softly. Do you know how funny it is when human bones crack as they slowly break from distension? Looks like he's finally lost his marbles. Listen, I understand everything, but the other one thinks that's a bit much too. But it doesn't matter. Nobody but you is real here. The pioneer suddenly fell silent. Well, no, I don't agree with you. You're probably thinking, why I didn't check this all by myself, aren't you? Why I didn't try to reach the nearest village or town. Yes, I did have such thoughts. Why wasn't I suspicious? Why was I doing different stuff instead of searching for answers? Well, yes. Forget about it. That's normal. We all behave like this for the first time here. But how many others have you seen so far? Not that many. The pioneer was lost in thought. About 10 people, maybe. But I'm sure there are many more of them. And is everyone like this? In fact, yes. Only the details are different, but the main thing is invariable. There's no way out of here. And, by the way, you're just like the majority of them. The only thing that differs is that you've heard everything from me instead of experiencing it for yourself. I don't know if I should thank him for that. Well, and what now? Nothing, he said shortly. I closed my eyes and lost myself in thought. That was a critical mistake. When I opened my eyes, I didn't see anybody, just like the previous times. So it's clear what's going on now. But, in fact, how could everything he said guide me to an answer? Yes, I'm not alone. Yes, everything recurs. But what's the reason for all this? And why? And what is more important? Where's the way out? The only useful thing I extracted from the conversation was that the local inhabitants were not worth fearing, and that was quite significant to me now, since it was much better to sleep in a warm cabin instead of the forest. I sighed, took my things, and headed towards the camp. As I was walking, the conversation with my fellow sufferer popped up in my mind every now and then. Why did I not ask him about the message on my phone? That's mother stuff. There were hints, after all. Maybe if I had found some more details out, I could have drawn some conclusions. However, it didn't seem like our meeting would be the last one. The lights were on in Olga Dmitrievna's cabin. I opened the door gently and went in. Speak of the devil, here you are! The camp leader said angrily. Olga Dmitrievna, I'm so tired now. Let's just put off the lecture. Tired from what, I wonder? From everything, I snapped rudely. The camp leader looked at me with surprise. I fell into bed without undressing. Semyon, a role model pioneer shouldn't behave like that. And how should I behave then? Well, not like that. The camp leader stumbled for a moment, as if struggling to pick the right words. He should respect his seniors. I respect you immensely, for sure. Semyon! The sarcasm in my voice didn't go unnoticed. And now I'd like to sleep. Wait, By the way, how far is the nearest town? When does the bus arrive? How can I even get out of here? I asked in a surprisingly calm voice. There was no answer, and there shouldn't have been any. I said all this just in order to get rid of her. Why are you silent? I'm tired. Let's talk about that tomorrow. The camp leader got up and turned off the light. Yes, it's all just like that guy said. Why did I speak to him so calmly and properly, I wonder? I should have been shivering from horror. That pioneer didn't have much credibility, but I had a feeling that he's unable to harm me. As soon as I thought that it would be a good idea to ask something else, fatigue overtook me, and I passed out. Day 7. Alright guys, well, I think we're going to leave it off there for this time. I hope you enjoyed. I know that this video was probably a bit of a shorter one compared to most of the other ones, but you will be getting another episode of this next time for sure. So look forward to that. And probably after that, I'm probably going to do a lot more Katawa Shoujo videos, which, if you made it this far, that'd be awesome if you could go check out the first episode that I've put up on the channel of that. I highly recommend it. It's a very enjoyable game so far. And yeah, I hope you're looking forward to more videos of Everlasting Summer and Katawa Shoujo. But anyways, guys, that's going to be it for this time. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, that'd be awesome if you could leave a thumbs up on the video. And if you like this series or anything else that you see on my channel, then hitting the subscribe button and turning on the post notifications would be awesome, just to let you know when I post a new video. But yeah, that's going to be it for this time, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.
Don't rain on me.